God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll be doing the roll call this evening because Madam Clerk is in the audience so she can hear us better. Councilor Perry?
Present.
Councilor Shabbat?
Present.
Councilor Ryan?
Present.
Councilor Hilton?
Present.
Councilor DiMederos, present. Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor Bowe? I just want to go over what's going to happen this evening. Twin Rivers will give a presentation. Then I'll open the public forum. I'm asking everyone to limit their comments to 2 minutes. I thought there'd be a little more than this here, but still, just to keep it going. Joe Armand is here from Lincoln, and he will start the public forum, just explaining to us the process there in Lincoln for 24 hours. The state police are also present. If there's any safety issues that come up, they are willing to speak on that. I am asking for someone to make a motion to bring number 2 before number 3 on the agenda, and the reason for that is for 24-hour operation has to be approved before the liquor license.
Madam President. Oh, sorry.
So that is why I'm asking for that. If 24-hour operation is not approved, then the liquor license will not be approved, obviously. Councilor Edwards?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to take out of order item number 3 on the agenda in front of item number 2.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Now I'm going to ask Twin Rivers to please start their presentation, and the councilor to please go in the audience.
Madam President, members of the council, folks that have attended tonight from the public, first of all, we appreciate your time. My name is Mark Russo. I represent Twin River Tiverton, LLC. With me is Craig Skoulos, who's the Vice President and General Manager of Twin River in Lincoln. He's attended many community meetings, almost all the community meetings from the beginning of this effort. So we thought it best that the two of us at least give the overview of a PowerPoint, and then for the benefit of the council and for the public, we'll assemble in a panel here with some other members of our team that I'll introduce at the conclusion of the PowerPoint, and we should be able to field any questions that are asked. So the first thing that I wanted to do was just give a little bit of an introduction and overview of some of the history that led us up to this point, not history all the way back to the referendum, but the history of the casino subcommittee that was set up. One of the goals of the casino subcommittee was to put together a host community agreement, and there was a decision made early on, and I think it was a good decision to divide that into 2 topics. One was a host community agreement for the development term, which would govern our construction, and that's turned out to be a very flexible and a very good document, and that has guided the construction, which we hope will be coming to a successful conclusion soon. That agreement was signed in August of 2017, and I provided to the solicitor and the clerk some documents that we'll reference, so you have those. And one of those is the development term agreement without all of the exhibits. There's probably exhibits that are that thick, but I didn't bring those. The next, we attempted to address the operations agreement with the casino subcommittee. And we did accomplish a number of things, and I'll just make reference to that again to kind of sharpen the context, what brings us here tonight. The first thing that was addressed in the operations agreement, which has been advanced from the committee but is being held in abeyance until these issues tonight are decided, and that was a public safety protocol. Which, if you read paragraph 2 of the proposed host community agreement for operations, is an implementing safety protocol that will be tweaked and will be improved upon operations. You did receive letters from both chiefs on October 31st of 2017, which I've also handed out, that has the introductory protocol attached for what they term to be the initial protocol for commencement of operations. And as they say in there, both departments assume that as operations commence, there'll be fine-tuning, adjustment, and updating of the protocol, which is exactly the same experience that we have in Lincoln, where it's constantly updated. The next issue to just touch on in the host community agreement for operations is the concept of liquor service hours. And for sake, I understand the council will take those up separately, but for the sake of efficiency, we'll present on both. And that stems from an ordinance, not an ordinance, a statute, a state of Rhode Island statute that allows for certain operational hours for a casino. There's a Class BC license. We had two levels of discussion before the subcommittee that I think are important, and the president touched on one of them, and I'll get back to that in a second. One of them is the statute allows you to serve from 6 a.m. until 1 a.m. except for Fridays, Saturdays, and nights before legal holidays, where you can go to 2 a.m. And the subcommittee did take issue with the fact that the statute allows a 6 a.m. start. That's not our intention. So what was recommended by the committee or the subcommittee was a 10 a.m. Start, and that's what's in the draft host community. However, as the president pointed out in asking for a motion to kind of reverse the order, one is dependent on the other in that your Class BC state statute requires that the entity be a 24-hour gaming operation. For example, Twin River and Lincoln is a 24-hour gaming operation. Which brings us to the third point in the operations agreement as it in its current format, and that was we have a paragraph in there that's blank for gaming hours of operation, because the subcommittee and we wholly agree took the position that really should be a decision for you, the council, and that was passed up to you to make that decision, and that's where we are tonight. We have a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to put on. The concept of the ordinances, and again, those ordinances have been handed out in draft that we're hoping for you to deliberate and consider. Beginning with the 24-hour operations is the concept of a pilot. And the first thing in that pilot would be is that it would incorporate the initial safety protocol that would be part of the host community agreement for operations. Then there would be constant reporting on a quarterly basis from the police to the council, from fire to the council, as to how that protocol should be improved, what types of conditions or added conditions should be on 24-hour operations. Obviously, at the outset, the ordinance assumes that the council can put whatever conditions on the license if you choose to adopt the ordinance, and you consider the license, you would preside over that as a licensing body, as you do as a council. You would place whatever conditions you think are worthwhile to place on that license. Police, fire, other public safety entities in town would continue to monitor those operations, advise you as to whether those protocols are being met, advise you of how they're being improved or made more stringent as time goes on. And in addition, what the form of ordinance says is that the host community agreement for operations would be a condition of the license as well. So you would get constant reports as to whether those conditions are being met, which I went through the highlights of them, but they include when deliveries are being made, how the employee parking lot is being used, what type of lighting protocols are in place with night sky compliance, et cetera. So if we violated those, then you as a licensing body would be able to have a show cause hearing. And then 60 days before the end of the one-year pilot, you would have another public hearing to determine whether or not you would continue the protocol. So that's the concept behind the pilot. The Class BC license is somewhat easier because we're guided by state law, and the state law requires, and it's very similar, it rises from our experience in Lincoln, which we'll go through in a minute. But what that is again, you have to have your protocol in place. You have to constantly improve the protocol through communications with police, fire, other safety. And if you do that, that allows you to operate under your BC license, obviously subject to the council's authority. So that's how those two kind of mesh. So with that said, I'm going to go quickly through the agenda that we're going to cover. And Craig is going to talk about community approval. We're going to talk about 24-hour gaming in perspective, the economic impact of limited gaming hours, in other words, if we weren't allowed to operate 24 hours, the operational impact of limited gaming, in other words, if we weren't able to operate. We're going to touch on the 2 a.m. weekend holiday liquor license experience in Lincoln, touch on how that should translate into Tiverton, public safety aspects, arrest statistics in Lincoln based on the 5 million visits a year we get, and then assemble, obviously, in a panel for Q&A. So with that said, I'm going to move to the first slide, which is community approval, and turn it over to Craig, who is going to run through that slide for the benefit of the public and the council.
Good evening to everybody here in the auditorium, and a special thank you to the council for providing us this opportunity to speak to you this evening, as well as to the residents of Tiverton. Mark did mention, I would like to introduce, Mark, if you don't mind, the members of our team that are here today, because they will be assisting in the presentation. Start with our Regional Executive Director of Security, Mr. Mike Filer. Mike has been with us in Lincoln for 11 years. He has a background in law enforcement, including an officer in the West Greenwich Police Department. Mike's responsibilities for both Tiverton and Lincoln will be all aspects of public safety. In addition, an individual that I think everybody here has met in the past, our Regional Executive Director of Public and Community Affairs, Ms. Kim Ward. Kim has been with the property for over 20 years, and she serves as a liaison to the community, a position that she'll be holding for both Lincoln and for Tiverton. Kim's responsibilities also include charitable and civic endeavors and helps out in all aspects of the business. And it's also my pleasure to introduce my colleague, another gentleman well known, Mr. Joe Moore. Joe is the Vice President and General Manager of Newport Grand. Joe will be assuming that same position in Tiverton as the lead member of the management team. And I kid Joe a lot. I think Joe is the godfather of gaming, 30 years or so, his position at Newport Grand. So that's the team that's assembled. And as the night goes on, we may be asking some questions that they'll be able to answer. I also apologize in advance. I'm admitting my old age. I recently got glasses, and I go back and forth between reading glasses and vision glasses. So with my reading glasses, I can't see the screen. But if I put on my other glasses, I can't get my presentation. So if I'm changing glasses, this is the reason that I'm doing it. Part of the reason that I'm here this evening is in my 22 going on 23 years at the Lincoln property, we, together as the team, we have witnessed the evolution of the property. And that has included the changeover to a 24-hour operation, as well as the 2 a.m. Liquor license. So we will be using Lincoln as a bit of a framework this evening, an optic to discuss the operation. I think in context, it's very important to state at the beginning, the Lincoln property is much bigger than Tiverton. We will have currently about 4,200 slot machines operating in Lincoln. There's approximately 1,000 for Tiverton. In Lincoln, there's approximately 120 table games, live tables. The number will be closer to 30 in Tiverton. Lincoln also has far more amenities, more restaurants, food courts, bars, entertainment offerings, including an event center. In fact, by gaming positions, the Lincoln facility is one of the 10 largest casinos in North America. 5.2 million visitors. We are the top ranked by the Providence Business News tourist and cultural attraction in the state of Rhode Island. So when we talk these numbers, we are 4 times bigger than Tiverton. So to put this in proper context as a framework, if you take the Lincoln numbers, roughly divide by 4, that will get you to the baseline for Tiverton. As Mark stated, sort of maybe start the presentation by going back to the future for just a moment. Our interaction with Tiverton started between 18 and 24 months before the referendum. We spent a lot of time in the community. About 40 community meetings were held. Those meetings were held in front yards, backyards, kitchens, dining rooms. We met in restaurants, and we met here in the high school. And a lot of comments came out of those meetings, repetitive comments in many cases. That helped shape and define the narrative and the program that is the casino, as we know it today. Some of those comments are on the screen. If there is going to be a casino in Tiverton, the comments went along that it should be first class. It should be a first-class casino, and it should be competitive. It should provide revenue for the town. It should create jobs for the town. It should also have the necessary amenities, including a hotel, and there should be a sensitivity toward the community, especially in areas of safety. So we took all of that into consideration, and the community approved the following items. The physical characteristics: a 95,000 square foot casino with a full array of gaming. In addition, a hotel that has 84 rooms. That hotel was never part of the original plan. The hotel was actually developed based on the feedback from the community. As Mark noted, there's been a series of meetings, and there's a zoning overlay ordinance. The language actually says a regionally competitive first-class casino. We also now have a partnership between the state, the town, and the casino itself. All of us share in the success of the property. And I think, simply put, the better the casino performs, the more successful it is. We all will benefit from that. We believe that 24-hour gaming and 2 a.m. liquor license are necessary components to help push us in that direction. When all said and done, we should represent about 10% of the town's budget. That would be the revenue from gaming. Mark, you stole my remote.
I did. Kim taught me how to do it, so there we go. So Craig's going to cover 24-hour gaming in perspective. I'm just going to jump in at the end to talk about that blurb at the end that says opportunity for town to exercise control. So do you feel better if you hold this?
I feel more secure, Mark. It keeps me grounded, believe it or not. Plus, I can't see a blessed thing. But aside from that, we're doing well. The casino hotel, as approved, will have a 24-hour presence. What does that mean? Well, if you take a look at the property itself, there are essentially 2 structures on the property: a hotel and a casino. And from the design and planning meetings, it's a common entrance. So they work hand in hand. By its very definition, a hotel is open 24 hours, servicing guests around the clock. The casino is also designed for a 24-hour operation. That's the industry standard. But absent of 24 hours, in the event that 24 hours is not approved, the casino, by Rhode Island lottery regulation, must maintain a 24/7 security presence in the building as well as in the exterior, basically in the form of a roving patrol. In addition, the lights must be kept on. Lights must be kept on for safety purposes. So in a sense, the facilities are there. The hotel will be operating. The casino will be minimally staffed. To best realize the full potential of the hotel and the casino, we're suggesting the 24/7 operation basically fulfills that mandate. In the event there are not 24 hours, the facilities do not go dark. They do not go dark. There is a number of safety and security advantages to a 24-hour operation. Ensures that security will be present throughout the day. Security in the form of our Twin River security team, Rhode Island State Police, the Gaming Enforcement Unit, compliance officials from the Rhode Island Lottery, public safety officials from Tiverton, the Tiverton Police and Tiverton Fire Departments will also be present. So there will be 24-hour coverage, ensuring that the environment for the casino is safe. In addition, from a traffic standpoint, 24/7 creates a much better flow, and we'll discuss that in some of the upcoming slides. As we noted, we have a proven track record in Lincoln, and I know Town Administrator Almond is here, and he can certainly provide his insight as well. 24-hour gaming came to Lincoln in 2010, and it immediately solved a number of the issues that we were facing. But before we get there are similarities between both the Lincoln property and the Tiverton property. In the sense, both obviously are gaming facilities, with Lincoln being larger, but they both have immediate access to highways. In Lincoln, it's Route 146. Here in Tiverton, it's Route 24. Those will be the main conduits for guests to arrive and depart from the facility. Both properties are, relatively speaking, in close proximity to those highways, so the traffic is not passing through large residential neighborhoods. In addition, the sites are fully buffered. What does that mean? What that simply means is we set back from the street, there's a landscaping barrier, and the properties, the casinos themselves are about as unobtrusive as they can realistically be. Tiverton has another advantage, a dedicated emergency access road for police, ambulance, and firefighters if needed. And it's not on the slide, but one item to add, roundabout. The Lincoln property has had a roundabout for several years. I was a critic, I didn't believe it would work. It has actually worked at a level that borders on miracles. It has improved the flow, the distribution of cars, and the way that the traffic circulates. We expect the same to happen here. So there are similarities between the two properties. We've developed, reviewed, implemented, tweaked, modified, altered, and adapted a plan for 24-hour gaming in Lincoln. It is our belief that we can easily and readily adapt that plan for Tiverton. So we have a program, we use it in Lincoln, we think it would work very well here in Tiverton. And then finally, from a competitive standpoint, the 24-hour operation allows us to sustain revenue and jobs, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming slide. And then finally, the limited gaming hours. This is something that Mark referenced. In the event that the hours are limited, we've put a program together, a casino with a full array of gaming and a hotel. In the event that these hours are limited, the synergy between those two no longer exists. In a sense, we're losing revenue, and we're at a competitive disadvantage. The existing casinos in our market all offer 24-hour gaming. And with that, Mark, I'll turn it back over to you for the upcoming discussion.
Right. I'm not going to touch the pointer. This last point on this slide, opportunity for town to exercise control, I think is an important point to pause on for a second. We've had numerous interactions with planning boards, with the council with regard to zoning ordinances, with comp plan changes, with police and fire with regard to setting up a baseline for security protocol. Those were all based on the possibility of 24-hour operations. And at all times, people would ask the question, we had very candid discussions at the subcommittee level as to what is your position on 24 hours? And our position has remained constant, and that is we operate 24 hours in Lincoln. We would prefer to operate 24 hours, but we have to have a discussion with the town. And we've been having a discussion with the town. And it models itself after the same discussion in Lincoln that started in 2010. And we had that discussion with the council. Our comprehensive plan in Lincoln actually says whatever initiatives are undertaken at the property, regardless of whether it's state jurisdiction or otherwise, you start with the host community, you inform them what the initiative is, and you go from there. And that's exactly how we behaved in this instance. Now, it's not a secret, and we've discussed this in the subcommittee, that the state can control hours of gaming. It's right in the state statute. However, it makes all the sense in the world to have the discussion with the host community and have the host community establish the conditions. Because if you establish the conditions, you customize them to your community, you enforce them. If we're called to the carpet on a show cause, you preside over that. So I think this point is an important point, that this is an opportunity for us to have a further partnership and for the town to enforce what they feel is important for those operations. So that's, I wanted to highlight that point, and with that, I said I wouldn't touch the clicker, so I'll have Craig move over to 24-hour gaming perspective, and I'm sorry, the economic impact of limited gaming hours, and we'll talk about the, what if there is restriction on gaming hours. So I'll turn that over to Craig.
In addition to not being able to see anything because of my glasses, I am now perspiring at a rate that I have nothing but salt water in my eyes. So please bear with me. This is turning into a far more difficult effort than I first thought. The economic impact of limited gaming hours. What this slide represents is in the event that the 24 hours are not approved. So we're looking now at the opposite side of the coin. Overnight hours serve a specific clientele. It's typically those that either are looking to extend their stay at the casino and on the property, or those that for whatever reason have decided they'd like to arrive late. We've determined that if the hours are removed, if there are no additional hours during the overnight, the impact, particularly to the state, is substantial. It's about an $8 million loss to the state. That's $8 million that would be invested into the general fund. But more importantly, from a local standpoint, jobs. Jobs are impacted. We need approximately 80 FTEs, full-time equivalents, to operate during those overnight hours. They are in a variety of different positions: food and beverage, gaming, marketing, security, environmental services. Those jobs would be eliminated. There'd be no need for it. Not only are we reducing jobs and shifts and benefits and hours, we're also taking money out of the economy. The economic impact study that was put together showed and demonstrated for every dollar lost in labor, $3 are lost in the local economy. We should note that we've had over 200 applications for positions here at this casino from Tiverton residents. 200 applications have been filed by our local residents. In addition, the reduction in hours will also impact contractors and vendors who provide service for us. So there is a net downside for all the partners. It's also critical that we stay competitive, and I mentioned this a few moments ago. The existing casinos in the market, Mohegan Sun, Foxwood, Twin River, Plainridge Park Casino, all offer 24 hours of gaming. In addition, they're all located in residential properties, residential areas. Ledyard in Uncasville, Connecticut, Plainville in Massachusetts, and of course Lincoln in Rhode Island. So very similar settings. We're all competing basically for the same clientele. It's a competitive market. Amenities and the attributes of the property matter. It's how we try to sort of use our efficiencies and peak performance, as I keep talking, the full potential of the casino. We believe strongly that 24/7 is a driver. Not all amenities are physical. It's not just about a sushi bar, a table game, or the placement of a television. A lot of the attributes and amenities are operational. And one that really matters to the guest is the opportunity for the guest to decide when they would like to gamble, early or late, whatever time of day, without artificial openings and closings. That is a critical component of our business, to allow the guest and the patron to decide when they would like to come to the property. And I think, Mark, with that, I'll turn it back to you.
No, actually, you get to go to the next slide.
I was looking for a break. Am I getting paid by the hour? Yes, I know there's water, but it doesn't help me see. All right. The operational impact of limiting gaming hours as we continue has other sort of effects to it. And one we'd like to talk about is opening and closing. We have a lot of experience in Lincoln with this very topic. Have to remember, the Lincoln property first opened in the 1940s as a thoroughbred racetrack, became a greyhound facility, a racino, and now, as we said, a casino. Historically, we have had dedicated opening and closing times, and it created a problem. The guests and the employees all tend to arrive to access the facility at about the same time. That created traffic issues. It created bottlenecks, particularly on weekends. If you talk to individuals, the longtime residents, they will tell you about the days when there was live racing, how difficult it was to get around the property and around the area as live racing or events at the racino were taking place. It created some problems. We tried different measures. We tried to close the casino later, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., to no avail. The traffic problem only went away with 24/7 operations because it allows a flow. Guests flow in and flow out as they see fit. No designated start, no designated finish. The impact of limited gaming also, as I just mentioned, is a competitive disadvantage. If our hours are limited, we are now minimizing that synergy between the hotel and the casino. And I think the guest would start to wonder, are you really first class when you don't offer the same hours as your competition does? The sustainability of revenue and jobs, it's simple. The fewer hours that you're open, the fewer opportunities it creates to generate revenue, and the fewer shifts that will be available for the jobs necessary to staff. We're just not open as much. There's also this sort of odd start-stop. When you have designated hours, Mike and his security team have to sort of overstaff for the opening, overstaff for the closing. It disrupts the natural flow of business. Our business is designed to even itself out over the course of 24 hours. And then I think the most important topic on this whole slide, the guest. The guest ultimately determines our success. The guest decides where they would like to go. The guest decides what the experience that is suitable for them. So I put it this way. You decide to come to the Tiverton property and it's beautiful. You're having a good evening, it's sociable, maybe you're even winning playing slots or table games. But then the announcements start. The casino closes in 1 hour. The casino closes in 30 minutes. That is not the type of atmosphere and environment that we believe creates a good guest experience. Our company invests a lot of time, effort, and money in improving guest service to create the best possible guest experience. It then becomes minimized. The impact on the hotel operations are similar. As we noted, it's integrated with the casino itself. The limited hours negates that advantage of having a full array of gaming with the hotel. And I know that's a repetitive theme I keep talking about. It could adversely impact our occupancy, which adversely impacts the revenue from the hotel, which has a trickle-down effect to the jobs. And then I think most importantly, it creates this artificial disruption in the way that the property is designed to operate. Mark, do I stop now? Thank you.
So actually, Craig was scheduled to do this slide, but I'm going to give him a break because I lived through this one, so I can speak to it. Just before going to this, though, Craig mentioned a couple of times the integration of the hotel, and I think he just 2 minutes ago said that he'd repeated it a few times. I just want to stress that as we went through the planning board process, which was very valuable to the overall design, that's something that they wanted was an integrated entrance, an experience of an overall venue, that type of thing with the eye towards creating this type of don't get me wrong, we didn't discuss 24-hour operation with them. Things like our traffic studies were all done based on that, but we didn't have that specific discussion. But it was important to the community to have that type of an integrated property. This is the issue that you may or may not reach tonight, but it's the 2M weekend holiday, the Class BC, and we just wanted to explain the Lincoln experience because we think it's an important illustration. The property was experiencing some problems because on Fridays, Saturdays, nights before legal holidays, we were really getting folks racing from Lincoln to the city of Providence to catch last call. It sounds a little far-fetched, but it was happening. We sat in a number of different meetings with Lincoln Public Safety to discuss it. We even went so far as to talk with Providence because they were experiencing some issues you may remember reading about in the paper a long time ago with bars in the downtown area, and they were experimenting with staggering closing times to help, et cetera. So we got some input on that. We then sat with the Lincoln Council in workshop and said, is this something that we can try to do at 2 a.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, nights before legal holidays? There actually is in the Class B liquor statute, a town can, if they want, they can grant Class B license holders that ability to do that. In other words, you could do that for any of your Class B license holders here in town. But we wanted more of a program, more of a protocol. And what came out of those workshops is very similar to what we're suggesting on a global scale to you guys, and that is start with a public safety protocol geared towards that. Work with Lincoln Police. Was it Chief Sullivan at the time? Chief Sullivan, and work with them periodically to continue to tweak that and improve it, and let's see how it works. And I think we did a 6-month with a sunset. And at the conclusion of that 6 months, the Lincoln Council was supportive of it. They passed an ordinance, and they sent a resolution up to the Assembly to support having that BC statute that you've now read. We feel that we'll have a similar experience here because of just the fact that we've been able to do it. The next point on this, and that we've talked about, and members of the community have asked us questions about, is measurable impact on local bars. And that's where I'm going to call Craig back up, because he deals with those folks on a daily basis in Lincoln, which many of them are our neighbors right in the 246 area.
As Mark noted, I know this is an issue for a lot of folks, probably a lot of folks here in the auditorium this evening. We are fortunate, much like Tiverton, we are fortunate in Lincoln that we are surrounded by a number of outstanding restaurants. Some are family-owned, some are chains. To this point, and again I will defer to Town Administrator Almond, we have not had one restaurant, bar, or pub owner approach us and say, the 2 a.m. liquor license presents a problem. And I'll tell you why. It's not something that we advertise. It's not something designed to bring people into the facility. The 2 a.m. alcohol license is actually designed to keep people on the property. People that otherwise, as Mark noted, might be racing to get to the next location that has a 2 a.m. liquor license. It keeps people on the property. It's not designed to bring people onto the property for the sole reason of a 2 a.m. liquor. As Mark noted, and actually one additional point, I think we've announced our restaurant operator. The restaurant operator in Tiverton will be Trattoria Romana. Not only have they succeeded in Lincoln, while our casino has expanded, they've increased their footprint. They now operate a bigger operation in Lincoln, despite the fact that they're not that far away from us. And they're now our partners, from a Lincoln standalone restaurant to a partnership with us inside the casino. One item that we did not mention, and again, it's a point of clarification. This is not a request for 24 hours liquor. We are mirroring in a pilot program, if approved, what is done in Lincoln. 2 a.m. on weekends, 2 a.m. on holidays, 1 a.m. the rest of the time. We are not attempting to serve alcohol 24 hours. That is not our request. In addition, when we're not serving alcohol after 2 a.m., we always have refreshments, soda, coffee available complimentary for our guests. We do not resume alcohol service again until 10 a.m. That's the sort of model that's in place in Lincoln. I think, Mark, I'll advance this and turn it back to you. I think the sort of operation in relationship to Tiverton switches. It's not Lincoln to Providence, it's Tiverton to Fall River for the 2 a.m. liquor. And with that, Mark, I'll turn it back to you.
So I think in order to be efficient, we were going to go into a little bit more detail, the one-year pilot program that's proposed, but we kind of touched on that at the outset, and I think that might be best saved for questions. So I'm going to move to the next slide, which is public safety, and I'm going to call Craig back in a second because I think it's something that Twin River is very proud of. I mean, they have a public safety program that, again, sees over 5 million visitors a year. And I'll just tell a real quick story to give him a breather. And there's an event center at Twin River in Lincoln. There's not one here. It just doesn't, it's not, the site isn't big enough. But the event center brought in MMA, mixed martial arts. And when they first did it, within the first, I don't know, 2 months, there was an issue where one group of supporters of one MMA fighter we didn't know had a history of getting into a little bit of an altercation with the other group. So we had an issue. We met with Chief Sullivan and his group, and the things that I observed being done from that were really amazing. I mean, they went through and did studies on how to change the lighting, when to bring the lighting brighter during the fights, what type of background to do on the groups, and to make sure that they haven't had history in other venues. Chief Sullivan's department actually ran those background checks, what type of music to run before the fights, when to put music, what volume. It was really just amazing to watch the detail that they went through. So this is a very, very serious operation. I know at the outset of this presentation, people were asking about the detail in the initial public safety protocol. I can say one thing without hesitation. These guys do public safety in an amazing way. And I'll turn it over to Craig, and when we get to arrest statistics, keep in mind that those arrest statistics are based on 5 million visitors a year, and I think you'll agree with me. So Craig, if you could run through public safety.
Sure, Mark, and next time, just tell me I can stand next to you. I keep going all the way back to the wall, then you keep calling me back up to the microphone. I'm getting a workout. A very serious issue for all public venues, particularly in today's day and age, is public safety. It is a serious tone that we attempt to set, and it's a very clear message. Our casinos are for the enjoyment of our guests. They are not a place for inappropriate behavior. We have a zero tolerance policy, a zero tolerance policy. So how do we set the tone? Well, it starts with our personnel. Our security department consists of either active or retired law enforcement public safety officials. They are licensed to carry firearms. They participate in in-service training, often in conjunction with the Rhode Island Lottery and or at times the Rhode Island State Police. We also utilize exterior patrols. In Tiverton, we are planning the same model that we have in Lincoln, a 24/7 police and fire detail. We will partner with the Tiverton public safety officials, develop, implement, update the public safety program. We'll have constant communication with the public safety officials in town. Again, we are paying for the details. This is not a cost that will be passed on to the taxpayers of Tiverton. We pay for these details. And a point that I believe Joe Allman will also address, there's always this question, will the casino place a strain on the public safety resources in Tiverton? We underwent a massive expansion in Lincoln, 2005, 2007 and onward. We added table games, more slots and event center. The staffing level for the Lincoln Police has not increased, despite the fact that we are now one of the 10 largest casinos in North America by gaming positions. It's the same number of officers. And the same also holds true for the fire department. Our attempt is not to strain the resources. Public safety also extends to the Rhode Island Lottery. They have compliance officers on site. The Rhode Island State Police maintains the gaming enforcement unit as well. And we also dabble in technology. The property in Tiverton will have several hundred, I believe it's approaching 700 high-definition surveillance cameras for the inside and outside of the property. We will have other technology at the ready that will serve as deterrence for this behavior that obviously we have no place for in our facility. And I think, Mark, I'll turn over the statistics to you and then I'll conclude.
So we were asked at the casino subcommittee hearings to be able to provide statistics on felonies. And we took a sampling of 2015 through 2017 in Lincoln, which is full array of gaming, so table games, 24-hour operations, slots. So it's a full array, and the event center. So there's two sets of statistics that are maintained. One is by the state police and one is by the town of Lincoln. So the state police statistics include gaming felonies, and what gaming felonies are two things, and I did not know this before I looked at these statistics, but it's called capping and pinching. And Craig can maybe could better explain it, but I think they have to do with when you place a bet and when bets close, or you might try to sneak something in there after bets close, basically. So the state police statistics for felonies, including gaming, for 2015 is 37, 2016 40, 2017 48. However, the gaming felonies, which are largely, as I said, capping and pinching, account for approximately 90% of those felony arrests. Therefore, if you eliminate those, you're looking at less than 5 per year based on 5 million visitors. Town of Lincoln felony arrest statistics, 2015 9, 2016 24, 2017 21, and the asterisk on those statistics for your consideration is that the vast majority of those are nonviolent and crimes against property. And again, those statistics are based on the number of visitors per year at Twin River, which will be roughly 4 times. So in summary, what we're asking the council to consider is exactly what we've said from day one. The 24-hour operations is an operational and a competitive advantage. It's a revenue advantage. It's a jobs advantage. We believe, based on history, and you can ask others, that it's a public safety advantage. We do not believe that that in itself is an impact on the surrounding areas, because as Craig started this off, you've got a 24-hour operation there regardless. What we have said from the outset, though, is it's a discussion with the town, and that's what we're here for. We're asking you to consider a pilot program that, irrespective of state jurisdiction, that you determine the types of conditions to be put on. You police it in conjunction with our interaction with your public safety officials. If we don't behave up to those standards, you enforce the regulations, and then at the conclusion of that one-year pilot, you decide whether it's something that we've proven out what we've demonstrated here tonight. If you see fit to approve that under those conditions, then I think the Class BC license largely tags along with that. We have not experienced any adverse impact at all in Lincoln from that. There has not been one show cause hearing on that at all. It's been a pretty seamless operation. But with that said, we have not shirked the responsibility of continuing to update the public safety protocol, and Michael Filer can answer questions on that in detail. So with that, we're done with the presentation. We'll assemble here in a panel to answer questions and obviously turn it back to Madam President. Because it'll be in their eyes.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to mention, I want to thank all the hard work of the subcommittee, of the town council, the casino subcommittee. Some members are here in the audience. They did a lot of hard work and led us to this point, and I'm very grateful for that. At this point, I'd like to open the advertised public hearing and welcome Mr. Amon to the podium.
Good evening.
Hi, Joe. Basically, I guess we're interested in the evolution of going from a non-24-hour facility to 24-hour facility, and any issues that you've run into and any benefits that you see.
Okay. I will be a little repetitive of what the Twin River folks explained to you. The town of Lincoln has had, as you know, gaming in the form of VLTs for approximately 20 years. That then evolved in, I believe it was 2010, that the casino approached the town council requesting 24 hours of operation. Most of the discussion you heard here tonight was held back then. I can also assure this council that the Lincoln Town Council takes their licensing responsibilities extremely seriously. As a way of making that comparison, we had a single nightclub that has been since closed that operated between 200 and 400 patrons that had 6 show cause hearings in 1 year, and then was closed. Twin River, at least in my knowledge, that would go back to 2008, with the 24-hour operation, with the eventual 2 a.m. license, has never had a show cause hearing in front of the Lincoln Town Council. So the evolution was, as the Twin River folks explained to you, that they have been operating for 24 hours since 2010. There were issues discussed about traffic, cars leaving. The impact actually seemed to be lessened. They talked to you about some crime statistics. What you have to realize is, and I can repeat those and give them to you, that I have both the felonies and misdemeanors. Those are strictly on the property, and the majority of which are crimes property crimes or minor crimes. When I looked outside of the property for both, not just crimes, but vehicle accidents and things that would relate to traffic issues, there are almost none. I can get you the statistics if you need them, but they're almost non-existent. Traffic backups are non-existent. Traffic accident impacts are non-existent. We have a separate commercial zone on the Route 116 corridor in which we have about, on the roadway, approximately 400 accidents a year at one intersection. And in a way of comparison, probably 30 outside of the casino. And when I say outside of the casino, it's simply the roadways, 146, 246, Twin River Road. So it's a very dramatic example that the 24 hours had no impact whatsoever on traffic. As Twin River folks pointed out, we also studied neighborhood traffic, and once again found initially when the casino first opened, people ended up wandering somewhat into neighborhoods and drove out simply because they didn't know where they're going. However, with signage, access, some of the new rotaries, once again, it's basically non-existent. People come in off Route 146 and they leave off Route 146. I mentioned crime outside of the casino. That type of crime would probably most likely relate to that we could then tie back to patrons of the casino. So I would imagine that would be things like breaking into cars, burglaries, break-ins. They're non-existent. They're no different than any other area in the town of Lincoln. Absolutely no, there is no variable in the homes or the neighborhoods outside of the casino as there are in any other neighborhood in the town. So I brought tonight, which I'll give you copies of, I have also, it was pointed out, I started in 2008. We had 36 active police officers. A police chief made 37, 6 civilian dispatchers, and that has never been increased throughout this whole evolution of the casino. As it was pointed out about the 2 AM license, there was a lot of discussion. Lincoln, this property especially, is 3 miles from some of the center areas of Providence that had, I can't even count how many nightclubs operating till 2 AM. A very, very high number. And you're all aware of the incidents that are being generated as a result of that. We had that discussion about people coming into town, you know, or leaving town to get to those 2 AM licenses. We're not seeing any of that since we match that Providence 2 AM on weekends and holidays. So we're not seeing any accidents that are of a serious magnitude, alcohol-related, things of that nature. Certainly less or no more than in the last decade. So statistically, just for the town police, they pointed out to you in 2016 there were 24 felony arrests in the casino. Again, that was in or on the property of the casino. There were 21 in 17, and as of today, since January 1st, there were 8. I can give you the misdemeanor numbers if you want, if that would also help you. Those are very, for the most part, minor crimes, trespass, disorderly conduct. In 2016, there were 113. In 2017, there were 123. And I don't have them for this current year, but I know they're running. So they've actually dipped slightly since the introduction of the 24 hours on the table games. The other thing, rescues for the town of Lincoln. The town of Lincoln has had 2 rescues that they've run prior to all this evolution. They still run 2 rescues. They're town-run rescues. They run 24 hours a day. Those 2 rescues currently, So the two vehicles currently in 2017, they had 4,058 runs, of which 7% of those runs went to the casino. Actually, twice as many runs went to neighboring communities than did the casino. So that was a variable we always had, was the mutual aid to the other communities. That is actually problematic to us because we're surrounded by several urban communities that utilize our rescue quite a bit. So in 2016, it was 4,044, and out of that, statistically, 7.3% of those runs went to the casino. The other thing I should point out is, so our rescue volume in general has increased, but more so because of our neighboring needs of needing assistance, but also our revenue, our rescue revenue that the town receives is now about $1,100,000 a year as a result of that, the call volume. So basically the rescues are still not at capacity is what I'm pointing out. We look at it by hours a day as well. I started to do that today before I came, and I can get that sent down to you. Both with rescue and all calls for service, we see, despite the 24 hours, we see a large drop-off after 2 a.m., and we don't see a resumption of any real call volume until about 1 p.m. the next day, and that's in both services. And I've started to look at arrest in that same category to see if there's many incidents that require arrest after 2 a.m. It seems to drop off considerably, and has been in the past 2.5 years. I'll leave you copies of all the statistics, both on the felonies and misdemeanors and the rescue runs, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the council right now? No. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If anyone in the audience would like to make a comment, please come to the podium now. I'm just asking that once you come to the microphone to state your name and your address for our records.
Liz Colbert, 430 Nanaquacket Road.
Hi.
I am against granting Twin River 24-hour operation rights. Why should the small town of Tiverton be made to have more hours than Twin River's current hours of operation in the city of Newport? What is the benefit to our small town? Is the state going to give us more than the promised $3 million if we allow Twin River to stay open in our town 24 hours a day? I think not. So what is the benefit to our town? Certainly not the additional demands on our police department. Does this mean Tiverton taxpayers will be paying for increased police staffing during the formerly quiet hours of the night? Again, I ask, what is the benefit to Tiverton residents? I am sure if the Boathouse or Little Bear came in here asking to stay open all night, you would say no in a heartbeat. I believe the idea of granting any temporary license and see how it goes is a joke. You know, once Twin River gets what they want, they are not going to give it back without a fight, and Tiverton does not stand a chance against their deep pockets. And by what standard will the temporary license be judged? Just because Twin River might be able to contain any problems on their property does not take into account what happens on the streets of Tiverton after their customers have left their site. Allowing the casino to operate around the clock is giving them the opportunity to take advantage of sleep-deprived, intoxicated, or addicted gamblers. There are social and financial costs that come with gambling and alcohol addiction that will further weigh down our town. Remember, the casino vote only passed by a small margin, and that is with the millions Twin River spent on their advertising campaign. Those of us who fought against it did not have those resources available to us. Please do not make a bad situation even worse by allowing Twin River to stay open all night. Let's put Twin River and its residents first. This does not make sense for our town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Stu's next, Joe. Okay, I don't know if, okay.
Stu Hardy, 51 Summerfield Lane, Tiverton. Regardless of how we voted in the referendum in 2016 on the casino, and some of us voted for, some of us voted against. There were good arguments and good people on both sides of that issue. The fact of the matter is that today the casino is a reality. And that being so, I submit that it is in everybody's best interest in the town of Tiverton to make this business a success. For one thing, we're already depending on the revenues from the casino to help us balance next year's town budget. If management needs the discretion and the flexibility to manage their gaming operation in a way consistent with national gaming standards, then we should give them that discretion to help guarantee that this business is successful. The second point, briefly, that I'd like to make is that during the deliberations on the casino design, a great deal of thought and effort went into designing a site for the casino that would minimize the negative impacts on the neighborhood. We gave a lot of thought to light pollution at night, light trespass at night, to traffic congestion, noise from traffic, environmental impacts, and we think that, at least I think, and I would submit to you, that the design of the site is such that there will be very little impact on the neighborhood in a 24-hour operation. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Souza, 49 Hancock Street. You had mentioned earlier about when we were sitting here when they wanted to build the mall in town, we had all the public hearings, and a lot of the people that are here today who want to talk bad about the casino came out and told us, look at the Harbor Mall. There's an example. Retail's dead. Well, look at the Harbor Mall today, and look at the casino today. It's built. It's going to provide revenue for this town. I support the 24-hour effort. I live 1,700 feet. By God, if I want to go for breakfast at 3 o'clock in the morning, now I'm going to have a place.
All right.
You know, so for all the people who want to tell me that I'm going to get drunk and go over there and blow all my money, you don't know me. I'm tight with a buck. I went through the Rotary a few times today. I think the design is really going to help the flow of traffic there. People are still a little skittish. They don't understand that they have the right of way. I think the sign should be merge, not yield, but I think people will get that straight. They're doing a good job. They've kept the traffic moving. They're doing everything they promised. I drive past those parking lots. I see like 200 cars parked out there, people that are working, right? The women out there with the flags telling me, come on, move it already. You know, it's great. We have some economic development in this town. Let's keep it moving. Let's give them the 24 hours that they need, and let's make sure that we maximize the employment for people in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Could I ask that we withhold the clapping, please? Come on, next.
Charles Mulcahy, 65 Beach Ave. Hello, Council. First and foremost, I can see and understand that there's people that are happy with the decision, the vote, and people are not happy with the vote. The fact of the matter is, there was a vote, and the vote was in favor of the casino. And it was largely in part to bring in revenue, much needed revenue, to the town of Tiverton in the way of tax revenue. Not only does it affect us positively locally, it'll affect us in the state too. I was listening to some people talk behind me about that money's going to the state. Well, we get a lot of money from the state. I was in public service for 26 years here in town as a police officer. We get grant money from the state. We get a lot of revenue from the state, which comes from the tax dollar that we all pay right out of our income, and that will gain probably from some of the tax revenue that's generated from the casino. As you can tell, I'm in favor of the 24-hour operation. I see absolutely makes no sense to me to have a hotel and a casino and not have the casino open for the people that go to the hotel. I don't understand why anybody would consider dumping however many number of people at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning into the community and suggest that that's a good idea. Like I said, I was in law enforcement for 26 years. Your minimum staffing is still 3 officers, I believe. Maybe it's changed, but I don't think so. You're going to dump hundreds of people into the community at 3 a.m. and have 3 police officers potentially deal with that flow, that flow of a number of patrons into the community. Bad idea. Doesn't make any sense. Your entire security force is law enforcement. It's twice the size of the police department, 3 times the size of the number of people that are on duty in the overnight hours. You're protected. You're well protected. Believe me when I tell you, well protected. And the last thing is that the argument or the position that people take, and I've heard it a few times, drunks, degenerates, everybody who gambles is a drunk or a degenerate. That's crazy, okay? Take a ride down to Newport, okay? That's only VLT, that's not, you don't have table games there. All I see is elderly and disabled people. No drunks, no degenerates. We don't have those problems down there. We're not gonna have them in Tiverton. It doesn't make any sense. The people that gamble professionally gamble overnight professionally. Those are the people that are spending tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in the casino. You shut the casino down for 5-6 hours at night, you're taking millions of dollars of revenue off the table for the town annually. Do the math, it's real simple. We're not here for that reason. We're here to bring money and revenue into the town. 24 hours is the way to go. Thank you.
My name is Uriel Moranis. I live at 71 Robin Drive. The people with whom I've spoken concerning the casino see its main benefit as an economic one. I think everybody is looking at the tax dollars that will be generated, and it seems to me if that's the main reason to get the casino in town, then we should do what we can to ensure their success. And it seems to me if they stay open later, there is more revenue generated for them, and there is more revenue generated for the town. The extra jobs, the economy may be doing well now, but jobs are always helpful. And I think the other 2 points I would make is we've heard that the Twin Rivers experience has been a positive one. I've followed this issue since the casino first became an issue, and I have not heard anything negative by anyone associated with the Lincoln, Rhode Island town. It seems the casino has been a good neighbor, and it's a partnership that's worked well. And I think the fact that we have a pilot program gives us an opportunity to reevaluate this in a year based upon solid, concrete information as opposed to what we think may or may not happen. So I would be in favor of the 24-hour expansion. Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Todd Martin, 485 Lake Road. I've been employed as an armed security officer at the Newport location since January, and I can tell you firsthand I've worked there every Saturday night. The problems are not what everybody seems to think. Just today I spoke to an elderly lady that said this gives her the reason to get up in the morning. She's not spending her whole Social Security check there. She's not being drunk. She's not being disorderly. She's going there for the social aspect of it. There's a lot of people that go there on a weekly basis. There's a lot of people that go there for just the social, the camaraderie. You know, it's not the bad place that everybody says that it is. I do feel, like Charlie had said, that letting everybody out at 2 a.m., that creates a problem. It needs to be a night-long thing so that this is a world-class facility, that we're not just doing things half-baked. The Harbor Mall is a perfect example. Everybody thought that that was going to be a terrible thing, and look, the place is packed. It's done nothing, I think, except improve that area of the city. So I am definitely in favor and have firsthand knowledge and experience. I'm a lifelong resident of Tiverton. I love Tiverton. I've never moved on to Tiverton except for school for a brief period of time. So I'm not looking to do anything that would be detrimental to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Barassa, 349 Fish Road. I didn't come prepared to say anything, but I just wanted to say that I've gone to Twin River in Lincoln hundreds of times all hours of the day, night. I was just there today, as a matter of fact, with my husband. 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning we've gone. I've never witnessed any problems. The traffic flow, I've never seen any problems. I'm a wife, I'm a mother. I've never felt scared. I've gone by myself before. I feel it's very safe. I feel it's a good, positive environment. I feel I've lived in Tiverton all my life, and I feel it's going to be good for the town, and I feel if it's open 24 hours, I do feel it would be safer. I always feel safe, whether I'm with my husband or alone. The parking lot, I've never witnessed a problem. I think they're going to be a wonderful neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Barbara Pelletier at Bonniefield Drive. Being on many volunteer committees, the casino has always offered to help us. We haven't been able to take advantage of it, so hopefully now we can, but I can truthfully say that they have really, really tried to be engaged in the community. And as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I reached out to Kim Ward about getting some of our local farmers into their food service thing, and she immediately looked into that and was very positive. So I think we should really, really give them all the support we can.
Thank you. Anyone else with a comment?
Susan Anderson, 1137 Main Road. Everybody's saying that Tiverton, they're comparing Tiverton to Lincoln. It's not the same. We are not a destination casino. We are a convenience casino. We don't have entertainment, at least they're not supposed to. There's a hotel there, which is fine, but I feel that's going to be used by people that can't afford the Newport hotels. So I think a hotel in town is fine. But as far as the 24 hours, I think it should be limited severely. I'm even opting for midnight. It is in a residential area. You have houses right next to it. You have houses across the street. You have a senior housing across the street. That's the businesses that are in Fall River are close next to it. Their hours, like I think if the movies theaters shut down, the last show ended at 11, I'm not sure. But at least, I mean, those businesses close. So why not this business? Again, if you have traffic exiting, it's not a destination. It is a convenience. You're not going to have the people that you would have at a major sports complex leaving at the same time. You're not going to have the people that would be leaving from a concert at the same time, or a movie theater, any of those. I don't know how many people go to a convenience casino from like midnight to 6 in the morning. I would suspect not as many as you have at a destination casino where you have entertainment. So I would opt that you don't consider it the same as Lincoln. It is not the same. It's much smaller. You have houses right next door, right across the street. It's a 2-lane highway. It's not the same. I don't favor 24 hours.
Thank you. Roger? Do you want to speak? Yes.
Looking forward to hearing from you, are you?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you were standing there. I thought you wanted to.
Good evening, Council. My name is Roger Belanger, and my family and I live at 125 Stafford Road in Tiverton, Rhode Island. I cannot emphasize enough the negative impact this project has had on the quality of life of the abutters and other town residents. I also realize that you're probably tired of hearing it from me by now. However, I remain committed to doing everything possible to salvage what little piece of normalcy is left for the residents of this town. These same residents have spent decades trying to build a reasonable and, dare I say, somewhat comfortable life. Many campaign promises were made, and I don't believe we as a town have a good process for effectively holding Twin River and the state accountable for standing behind all of their promises, most notably being a good neighbor. Now is the time to start. The Tiverton gambling facility should be limited to the same hours as the Newport facility it is replacing. As Twin River stated in their multi-million-dollar campaign, they stated that they were going to replicate the Newport hours. Nothing about a 24-hour operation. Extended hours would only attract patrons that have been out partying all night at other locations and don't want to go home. The old adage that nothing good happens after midnight is important to remember here. Extended hours is begging for trouble and not unnecessarily putting neighborhood and town residents at risk. As for impacting revenue, the effect of shorter hours on the Twin Rivers bottom line is not our concern. We have guarantees in place. Extended hours only serves Twin River shareholders at the risk of area residents. I suspect very strongly that keeping to the promised hours would not affect the bottom line of what monies the town would receive. A pilot program before we know all the full effects of this gambling facility on the town is premature at best. If we allow 24-hour operations from the start, we have no chance of pulling it back. Twin River should be required to prove before that they can run a trouble-free facility. I and many others firmly believe that this backdoor process of trying to expand to 24-hour operation has been part of their campaign strategy all along. Had they been honest with their intentions of 24 operation, this certainly would have cost them votes, and likely the rejections of questions 1 and 8. But as residents, we're starting to learn that's not their way. I would also suggest that maybe the input from Lincoln, and I hate that to sound disrespectful, but again, I've said it before this council, and I'm going to repeat myself, that nobody involved with it in town of Lincoln is going to bite the hand that feeds them. They're not going to say anything negative. In closing, I'd ask the council to hold Twin River to all of their campaign promises. If not now, when? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Colleen Venancio, 43 Robin Drive in Country View. We also are neighbors for Twin River. My husband and I hosted one of your charrette meetings, and they came down, they put a beautiful presentation on for us, and we have 249 houses in Country View. Most residents are in favor of it. The only thing we had a little bit of trouble on Hearst Lane this week, and thanks to Chief Lloyd and Councilor Randy LeBeau, they brought the fire engines down, they showed us how handicap accessible the fire engines could go around, all that stuff. There's no trouble. We have no problem at Twin River. We welcome them. I mean, we just, we're happy we're coming. It's a place for us to go. And I'm saying 248 houses are there now. And, we welcome them. And we welcome the roundabout. And once that Hearst Lane is straight, we'll be all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Faria, and about 6 months ago we purchased 283 Stafford Road. We're the lucky ones who bought the little pink house on Eagleville and Stafford Road. I've been there 6 months, keeping a timer of myself because I do tend to go long.
Awesome.
So a few points. When I bought the home that we purchased, number one question from any Tiverton resident or family in Fall River was, you do know you're like half a mile from the casino? I'm like, yeah. You do know you're on a busy street? Yeah. So I knew full well what I was getting myself into. So I feel as though the town of Tiverton knew full well what it was getting itself into in bringing the referendum to the voters regarding Twin River. But then when I heard about these potential changes, it got me thinking. So I have a few little points, and I don't need answers to the questions, just think about them. Was the possibility of 24-hour operation brought to the voter prior to this, to these meetings and this referendum? Has Twin River already hired those positions to handle 24-hour operations? And if so, why? Isn't that kind of pretty broad assumption? We've heard multiple times that it took a few years for Twin River Lincoln to become 24-hour. So I would assume it took probably some thoughts about their business model, how much they were making, was it financially worth it, feasibility studies and so forth, and ultimately took, I think, about 5 years for them to convince Lincoln that 24 hours is a great idea. What's the rush? The term a pilot program seems to mean that you want to try it out, but trying it out usually means you have the proof beforehand, and Lincoln is the proof, somewhat, but Lincoln and Tiverton are worlds apart. I didn't move to Lincoln. I know what Lincoln's like. It's nice. It's not where I wanted to live. I moved to Tiverton knowing what to expect. So that's one point. Another is, has anyone reached out to the Massachusetts State Police? Only because 24 North is going to be impacted pretty significantly, and interstate mutual aid agreements tend to be something that is a lot more complicated than people understand. I actually work in public safety and have done so at the state and federal level. Wow, already?
It's okay. I've been letting people go over a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay.
I have a few more, I promise.
Yeah, you're doing very well.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I work actually as a public safety dispatcher for a few years, and now as a supervisor through the federal government, and it's something that people forget. What about, across the state potential crime? I understand not on the property, and statistics say nothing ever happens in Lincoln, but what happens when it crosses state lines? Are we ready? Is the local police ready? Is Rhode Island State Police ready? Is Massachusetts State Police ready? Is Fall River Police ready? What happens if trafficking occurs, which does happen in hotels and casinos throughout the country and the world? What happens then? And then one last point, and it's kind of, my mother would say I'm being a smartass, but it's true. I heard the term capping and pinching. I've worked in law enforcement for a number of years. Capping and pinching is almost bait and switch. It's almost knowing what you've placed that bet, and then you change the bet at the last moment. Kind of like getting a referendum voted on, getting everyone to agree to that, and then right before it's done saying, oh, wait, we're not done. We need to change our bet a little bit. That's dangerous. My one last point, and this is, I have a very bizarre history, which I won't get into. My last point is, I actually offered to the council a moratorium of this decision for a year. Let that be the pilot program. Let the pilot program be the business trying to succeed. And after that year, if it has in fact succeeded and met those public safety protocols, why not then say, hey, we'll give you that 24-hour shot because we gave you a year without it. See if you earned it. Because I think that's important to the voter, to the community at large. It's not biting the hand that feeds them. If anything, you're trying to take care of them too.
All right, thank you.
My name's Nicole Costa. I live at 102 Bellevue. My mother grew up in this town. My father's a Navy man, retired. She loved this town so much, we came back here. And this is now where my children now currently go to Fort Barton Elementary School. I do work at the casino in Newport. I think it's time Tiverton had to change. We have the casino here. Tiverton hasn't changed in the 20 years that my mother was away. It's still the same. It's very predictable. My neighborhood, every 3 months, there's cars being broken into. Maybe if we change the policy and how Tiverton operates, maybe it'll give criminals a chance to not be on the game and know when to break into people's houses and homes and cars. And this way people can actually keep their stuff intact and keep it with them instead of criminals being getting a hold of it.
Thank you.
Cameron Ramsey, 11 Whatsup Avenue, Tiverton, Rhode Island. We've been talking about this casino now for 3-4 years. We are 3 months away from opening, and now this is coming up. Delay it, say no. They are our neighbors. Please treat the other people with the respect. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Colbert. I live at 430 Nanaquacket Road, and I wonder if the council could answer a simple question, and that is that if the casino were granted the 24-hour license, will the town receive any more revenue than the $3 million that has been projected?
No.
No. So if they increase their revenue, we get no additional share.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. I need to clarify my answer, Tony, who just said no to me, but.
$3 million. Sorry. There you go. The $3 million figure doesn't change. The question is what's the revenue going to be? There's a potential for it to be in excess of $3 million. If that's the case, fine. But if the revenue comes in at under $3 million, the town is still guaranteed $3 million by the statute.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carol Herman. I live at 1106 Main Road. I'd like to ask you to deny them their application for 24-hour operation beginning in September for several reasons. The first is that these were not the terms that were presented to voters. As other speakers have made clear, there was no mention that they absolutely needed 24 operation to be competitive, that they needed 24-hour operation to solve traffic problems. No, we were told they had done their studies, this was going to be financially profitable, that the Rotary would take care of all potential problems. For them to come to you shortly before opening and now say, oh, well, you know, everything's in jeopardy. You may not get the money you need. You won't get the jobs you need. I agree they're playing a game of bait and switch, and I think that they need to honor the terms that they presented to voters and that Tiverton residents approved. The second reason I'm opposed is something that hasn't come up yet this evening, and it's out of compassion and concern for those gamblers who may find themselves in front of a machine and unable to walk away. From the reading I've done online, gambling casinos depend on problem gamblers for a significant portion of their revenues. And people who stand in front of these slot machines get into a zone that the machines are specifically designed to create, to the point where these people cannot walk away from the machine, whether it's to eat, whether it's to sleep, or whether it's to go to the bathroom. And Twin River has a lot of experience with this because they keep a drawer full of clean sweatpants for those players who cannot walk away from their machine. And so these players can be put back in front of that very machine without having to take a trip to the bathroom. I think we need to send these people home to their families once a day. I don't think that's asking too much to have that concern for our neighbors, that they should see that family member once a day. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to comment? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aldridge Cormier, and I live at 348 Sousa Road. And I'd like to follow up on a little bit of what Helen had to say and talk to the experts. We have an elephant in the room. The Supreme Court has allowed Twin River to become a bookie. And this gentleman, who's
Sir,
the
please.
expert from Newport,
Yeah, please address.
could he possibly?
We'll ask him later if
Well, I need his expert opinion on that $3 million, because I think that a 24 operation in Tiverton will, even if we charge a buck a head toll, the $5.5 million is a minimum. Because I think the Tiverton Casino will be far more successful than Lincoln ever thought of being.
And that's because of the sport betting, is that what
And
you're saying?
the sports betting money and the huge amount of tourism that will be generated by the compelling influence of the history of Tiverton.
Just to answer your first question, Tiverton will not be receiving anything from the sports betting.
That's exactly my comment.
All right, and
we need, like Mr. LeBeau has said earlier, our governor has not put a spade, silver, shovel in Tiverton ground yet. But someday that'll come. And the state needs to realize that Tiverton wants to realize maximum monetary gain for its efforts, not, of course we're going to allow, and like I was saying about Helen, you know, the reverse mortgages that Wells Fargo could generate in Tiverton and Fall River and New Bedford, the studies have been done. That's why there's not a casino at Harbor Mall, and the state of Rhode Island rushed. We must get a Tiverton casino. The casino was decided to be put where it was put, exactly for that reason. You know, it could be behind my house. You know, I bleed for the Belangers. I'd much rather it was behind my house. It has more views, you know. On the Douglas property, they could overlook Mount Hope and have such a beautiful view. Although a hotel would be a lure for people from New York. And Twin River owns a horse track, Arapahoe Park, and we'll be able to bet. The residents of Tiverton will be able to bet at Arapahoe Park, and we'll be providing Twin River money at Arapahoe Park at the casino in Tiverton. Yet we'll gain no money. Mr. LeBeau commented on it earlier, that at a meeting earlier, that for us not to receive any income from the Supreme Court decision.
That's a whole nother night.
But it affects our $3 million goal. You stated that we get everything over $3 million.
No, we get $3 million guaranteed.
We get $3 million guaranteed, but I'm saying that this will be the most successful convenience casino ever built.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to question them about the impact. They are the experts, and the council should know what the impact would be.
We will, if the council wants to ask that question, we will. Okay, thank you.
Randy, I would appreciate it if this gentleman right here, 30 years, he knows.
Okay, please be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. Mike Sylvia, 263 Indian Point Road, and I'm here basically to say that I oppose the 24-hour operations at the casino. I'll be the first to admit that I don't live here permanently, but I am a taxpayer. I pay taxes on 2 properties. I am very concerned about the value of my property, but I'm also very concerned about the people who did vote against the casino. It wasn't like it was a 70-30 split. It was really close. And I feel like giving them 24 hours when that was not indicated in the early stages of how this was being campaigned for really is kind of dishonest. And I believe that Twin River has been asked what's the revenue that they can expect between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. And I don't think any revenue projections have been provided based on what happens at Twin River and Lincoln. If they have, fine, but I don't think anybody else has seen it. It's not that 24 hours is never going to happen. I just feel like we need to ease into this slowly. I feel like that we have to be careful of what will happen. I'm worried about the people not just going out at 2 a.m. I think that is an issue, but if Twin River has the appropriate policies in place as to how they're serving alcohol, shouldn't be a problem. I'm worried more about the people coming in who are going to be driving into the community at 2 a.m. Or 1 a.m., if you will. That's really all I have to say about it, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Anyone else that hasn't spoken? I will let you speak, Raj. Anyone else who hasn't spoken right now? I'll get back to you, and I just want to make sure everyone's heard.
Hi, my name's Elaine Sodoma. I live at 125 North Brayton Road. I don't usually, I've never said anything, ever came to any of these. But my question is, and my point is, I have lived here all my life, born and raised. Every time they want to put something new in Tiverton, there's always a commotion about something. First, it's the mall. Oh, we can't do that on Fish Road. Oh, it's Randy's gun shop. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Is there any trouble? We have a gun shop on Main Road. No trouble. Now they want a casino. They all want it, but they want to put restrictions and stuff on it. It's ridiculous. I feel go for it. How else are we going to know? Nobody wants change in Tiverton, but they all complain about things in Tiverton, finances. Go for it. That's what I say. No issue.
Thank you. Please. Anyone else? Come on, Roger. They're not rushing, so. All right, I'm just going to have Roger speak for a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted, a couple of points were made after I spoke, or just in rebuttal to some of the other points that were made by the Lincoln people. Everybody keeps talking safety, safety this, safety that, safety of everything that goes on the casino property that has to do with the gambling facility. No one yet, and this has been 2 years, nobody yet has addressed the safety of the people in the neighborhood and the people of the community outside the casino property. It hasn't happened. I'm still waiting. Okay, we talk about the statistics. The statistics are useless to the woman that was mugged at her home because she was stalked. She was stalked by somebody at the Twin River Casino. Followed her to her home.
Please, I don't want anybody to feel intimidated speaking at the microphone.
I'm not intimidated by that.
All right, but
Thank you.
I don't think I need that right now. Go ahead.
It's okay. The woman that was mugged at her home for her winnings after being followed by somebody from the Twin River Casino in Lincoln. That wasn't mentioned, okay? And statistics don't mean anything to her. I can tell you that right now. The drug ring employed by Tiverton, by Twin River employees, that wasn't brought up. Never heard anything about that. The flasher in the parking lot wasn't brought up. Where's those statistics? They're hidden. They're covered in numbers. Okay. Lastly, the Rotary. Okay? Twin River is not responsible for bringing the Rotary. They're not heroes. That Rotary should have been in place years ago. The Department of Transportation went as far as to come to the town council meeting and state that if this wasn't voted in, we might never see a Rotary. So that's how much concern the Department of Transportation in the state of Rhode Island has for the safety of residents in this town. We had to vote the casino in, give the state the gambling, in order for them to put on a Rotary to protect the area residents.
Roger, it's been 2 minutes. Okay. I just want to make it clear that Rotary was planned way before this casino came.
Right.
And
it had not happened.
But there was
It had not happened. And the guy said that it wasn't going to be happening for a long time unless we voted this thing in.
I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, then you missed it.
Okay, thank you. I just don't want to think anybody threatened us from the state. Next.
Good evening. My name is Jane Rogers, and I live at 71 Robin Drive. I didn't come here prepared to say anything. I came here prepared to listen and learn some more. I've been to the casino meetings. I've spoken with my pastor about the casino. We don't agree. And I've been a member of this community since I was born here. I've been a member of this community forever. I've also been a nurse for 40 years, and we have stalkers in our hospital parking lots. We have people that flash in the hospital parking lots. It's a reality of, unfortunately, this world that we live in. I saw the business plan tonight. I think it's an amazing business plan. It makes perfect sense to me when we're talking about community safety that we don't shut down a business that has hundreds or thousands of people in there and put them out onto a roundabout all at once. That's just pure logic to me. And I think that it's a wonderful financial benefit to our town. And I look forward to being good neighbors with them. So thank you.
Anyone else from the audience would like to speak? Sure.
I just wanted to add that, like, in my opinion, I've been, like I said, at different hours of the day and night in Lincoln with my husband, and I'm a homeowner here. I've owned my home since 2012. This thing where it's like you got to go there and like spend all your money, and it's all like people sit there and stare at the machine. I've never seen that. I mean, we go there, we have a good time. You just spend money if you want to, listen to some music, eat at the restaurants, and we just go there for a good time. And I just wanted to say, I've never seen people having to get a change of sweatpants because they're wetting themselves in the bathroom, and that's news to me. And I just wanted to say that, like, because I said I've gone there hundreds of times, I've never like lost all my money. And you can sign yourself out of the casino. I know if you have a gambling problem, you can sign yourself out of the casino. You can sign a paper where you, and then they won't let you on the property for 1 full year. I know that they're responsible like that, and I know that they are good neighbors. I've seen them do a lot of volunteer things with the puppies. Kim, I've seen her on the news with the dogs and the animals and doing a lot of volunteer things, and I do think they are good neighbors. And thank you. That's all I want to say.
Anyone else would like to speak? Would anyone else like to speak? I'm calling last call now. I will close the hearing after this. Anyone else would like to speak? Okay, I will call the public portion of this hearing over. I will take a 5-minute recess, and then the council will start the deliberation. Thank you.